the almost daily ZenCast. Hosted by the incorrigible MrZeppo. Let's talk Trump.
Hello and namaste, friends. Today is Friday, May 22nd. It's 11:46 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it is the 1,218th day of Trumptopian rule. Now, something I haven't done on the show in a really long time is visit trumptracker.github.io. Go check it out if you've never been. Totally honest, genuine, unpaid endorsement. They seem to be a pretty straightforward, nonpartisan, unbiased site tracking Trump's overt political promises in terms of how many of them he's actually even made any progress on, how many of them he's achieved, and how many of them he has broken. They created a list of 174 political campaign promises made prior to Trump getting into office. And as of today, according to the website, he has made 8 massive compromises out of 174 promises made. He's achieved a whopping 21 of the 174 promises made. He currently has 18 of them in some ambiguous state of progress out of 174. He has not initiated or taken any kind of action on 84 of the 174 political promises made during his campaign period. And he has outright broken 43 of them. To everybody who defends Donald Trump saying that he's not a politician, those statistics, in my humble opinion, prove otherwise. He seems to be pretty good at being a politician, despite all the jibber-jabber about how he's not a politician. All right. I wanted to check in with them because I hadn't done so in quite a bit. And quite frankly, one of the reasons is that in the intervening 1,200 days, he has proceeded to lie, mislead, and conflate true things with false things at a rate that is truly unprecedented. Although, and I should have pulled this up earlier. There was a great article recently, which I believe I shared somewhere on Facebook. Let's find it. Let's go to, I believe I shared it on the incorrigible MrZeppo's page. Yep, there it is. According to a journalist on an outlet called QZ.com, Trump fails at being the tyrannical bad guy that we all want him, fear him, perceive him to be. In other words, he fails at being the worst. He's pretty horrible, but according to this guy, history proves that he is not only not the first U.S. president to slippery slope towards tyrannical tendencies, he's not even been the best one at it. I strongly encourage you to go read that article. The headline is, I quote, "Sorry America, history proves Donald Trump is not the first U.S. president with totalitarian impulses." And you can find it at qz.com. I'm going to reshare it now on my regular page too, just for shits and giggles. So, we are at a critical juncture, friends. The last 3 years have just been foreplay. Now, we're getting to the real hot, sexy adult time of political prophecy and reality, hard facts. clashing. The Q base within the Trump base is driving the passionate and often incoherently, bizarrely conspiratorial narrative that Trump is not only fighting for us little guys, which, mind you, is something every politician promises and then goes on to prove they don't really give a shit about doing, making him just another politician in my book. But that he's not only fighting for us little guys, he is dragging us into some sort of new era of a great awakening. In fact, in just in the last, 48 hours or so, the newest of the corona-related conspiracy clusterfuck of conspiracy theories has crossed my very open-minded, but honestly, obviously, not full spectrum view on the world of social media. I try my best, but obviously I can't be everywhere at all times. Like, I don't even know what's going on in the deep darks of Reddit. I won't even pretend to be informed about that. And I know that the craziest shit on social media tends to originate from that general quadrant of the internet, Reddit, and other similar alternatives to the big three. But the weirdest and, of course, most interesting of those things that gain the most popular traction almost always wind up on the big three. So I tend to just wait until it gets there because I don't have the energy to be probing that many deep, dark rabbit holes of nonsense and malarkey. But the most interesting thing that I've seen in the last 48 hours is that hydroxychloroquine is not only good to prevent COVID-19, which, quite frankly, I see nowhere else reflected but within the confines of the Q conspiracy theory community base. I do not see anyone anywhere that is a medical professional, except for those who are outrageously publishing directly to YouTube, which, to the best of my understanding, no self-respecting, actual, thoughtful, scientific professional publishes directly to YouTube. They want their findings to be respected by the rest of the scientific community. Now, for those of you curious right now, if you're new to the show, I'm not a blind follower of science. I'm not a blind follower of anything. I don't like joining cults. But I will defend the scientific community to a certain extent because it is my understanding that they are not a monolithic entity. Just like politics is not any given political party, Democrats, Republicans, any of the independents, they're not a monolithic entity, okay? And I feel sometimes I'm a bit of a broken record on this point, but tragically, most people think in absolutist terms and cast groups of people in monolithic terms, and that just ain't the way shit really works, folks. So I digress. There's great hope within the scientific community, as there is great hope within the spiritual and non-organized religious community. In other words, I don't look at any group, whether it's an organized religion or a scientific community of a particular science, whether it's physics or medicine or whatever, I don't look at them and go, oh, you are all absolutely corrupt and therefore I will debunk you all by throwing you out with the bathwater. Conversely, I do not take any of them on blind faith. But I will defend the core methodology of science, because where do you think critical thinking and the review of new information and the willingness to update one's theory originated from? It originated in science. Sure as fuck did not originate in organized religion. I digress. I see no evidence, as presented by the various scientific authorities giving their opinion and their data and their scientific rationale around hydroxychloroquine, that it works as a prophylactic. There seems to be very little evidence that that actually is real. And quite frankly, there are studies ongoing that are generating very mixed results. There are some studies that seem to be indicating it might help a little tiny wee bit. Like it might help reduce some symptomology and cut a person's, period of worst discomfort down by a small percentage. That's the best news you can say about hydroxychloroquine. You cannot, with a straight face, make the claim that it will prevent you from getting sick. That has not been borne out by any of the studies. And conversely, the worst news seems to be that it may actually complicate things and make things worse for people who are sick with this disease and have other variables going on with them. Just ask the VA and the veterans that tragically died in that study. That study seems to indicate that introducing hydroxychloroquine after the disease has reached a certain level is bad. It makes things worse and may even kill people that might have survived the disease. Now, digressing here. So the jury's still out on hydroxychloroquine. And for some bizarre, mysterious reason, Trump has got a boner for it. So much so that he's claiming to take it. I've already talked about how I kind of doubt that he's taking it at all, because he does not seem to be showing any of the symptomology or side effects, rather, associated with taking the drug on a regular basis. It sounds like he claims to be taking it as some sort of publicity stunt to boost his base's clamoring and demanding for it. Here's the new thing, though. That's all old news. Here's the new thing that I hope hits the mainstream news, because that'll be a truly news-breaking moment. There are claims floating around now, coming from conspiracy theory, QAnon sources, claiming that Trump is leading us to the Great Enlightenment vis-a-vis a chemically induced third eye opening transcendence. Wow. There's so many things wrong with that concept that I don't even know where to begin. And what really shocked me was I was seeing this from people claiming to be spiritual, claiming to be into meditation, claiming to be well-informed in these subject matters of, enlightenment, etc. at all. Everyone has a role to play in the great dance of illusion. Everyone has a role to play in this theater we call life. The world is but a stage, my friends. Now that phrasing, that statement from Shakespeare gets applied to a bunch of different concepts. I.e., all politicians are puppets. Perhaps. But I think that it is spiritual in nature. All the world's a stage, and we are all merely puppets, not for some grand cabal of good guys or bad guys fighting some war, but for the light and the dark, for the yin and the yang, in the very simple act of living life for the sake of experiencing all that which is possible to experience. But let's digress here. Anyone who has sincerely meditated and really truly grappled with that level of spiritual effort, for it is not easy. Anyone who's investigated the ancient writings and teachings that have been, preserved and carried down through time about esoteric spiritual wisdom should understand the simple analogy that if you crack open the egg, the chick will not hatch. If you split the seed before you plant it, nothing will sprout. Therefore, my dear friends, a chemically induced third eye opening phenomena is horseshit. It's malarkey. It's complete nonsense. It will not work. And I really doubt that that is what he's trying to do. Because all of these spiritual claims made about Trump are never, ever things that come out of Trump's mouth. Have you noticed that? It's interesting. Today, how many days into quarantine are we now? I've lost track. Depends on which state you're in. It depends on... But basically, we've been worrying about and reacting to this pandemic since January. And since January, Trump has said 0 words about religion until today. Today, he read a really interestingly well-crafted statement about how he's fighting for our freedom of religious expression. And he curiously listed churches, synagogues, and mosques, although he always sort of hesitated and lingered on the word mosque for some reason. He always behaves weirdly different than his normal self when he's reading a prepared statement. Have you noticed that? Anyways, today's bizarrely brief briefing, today's curiously short announcement, I think violates and is indeed should be seen as an overreach of presidential power against the states, right? Aren't we all, isn't the whole Trump base supposedly an anti-federalist? States' rights are superior to the federal government's rights. We don't need a nanny government. Then why are we applauding when he declares that he's going to overreach his power and force an issue that the states are deciding for themselves? Now, mind you, this announcement arrives amidst a whirlwind of clusterfucky, confusing, and absolutely inept declarations about what's going on, ranging from he alone has the power to reopen the states and the economy on a state-by-state level to it's totally up to the governors of each state to I'm going to withhold funding from states that don't do what I want to I'm going to force the hands of states and make them do things that I want. That spectrum of self-contradicting presidential overreach of power in this back and forth, move the goalposts, change the objective, distract everyone from, the important things we need to be doing, should be, in my opinion, enough to piss everyone in the base off. Why doesn't it? Interesting question. Perhaps because the methodology implemented from day one has been that of neuro-linguistic programming and ideological mental conditioning. Maybe I'm wrong, but as I've observed his behavior and his actions and the plethora of statements made on his behalf by the base, I have perceived an alarming and I think very dangerous pattern. For clarity, I believe him to be a political puppet no different than any other political puppet. That he is a president selected and chosen to be in office now in this time to play a role like all the rest. And that the consistent through line is profiteering on us from the cradle to the grave, and most especially through the vehicle of war. One example, he has vetoed 7 items that have come to him from Congress. 4 of those items were legislation that threatened to bar or dismantle massive, offensively huge military weapons deals with Saudi Arabia. I don't know about you, but when he's dropped more bombs than Obama and has made more war profiteer sales than Obama, then to me, that just means that he's no better than all the critics of Obama claim Obama was, right? He's no different than every other politician in that position that has profiteered, or rather facilitated others in profiteering. Meanwhile, he's also profiteering on being the president. We, the people, are paying for him to stay at his own properties while he golfs more than Obama ever golfed. The fuck is that about? But I digress. The idea that hydroxychloroquine decalcifies the pineal gland is, to me, radically new and coming at us suddenly out of left field. Now, I cannot claim to be 100% aware of 100% of all the content that's ever been generated about hydroxychloroquine. And if I can find actual, verifiable, non-photoshoppy looking evidence that indeed people have been buzzing about hydroxychloroquine as a way to decalcify the pineal gland for the last 30 years, I'll change my opinion. But as things stand, to the limited ability for me to verify, and my own personal history of being deeply involved in the overall spiritual community that is interested in the third eye, in the pineal gland, in the decalcification of, and in the gradual reopening of the third eye, never have I ever once heard of hydroxychloroquine as one of the things that would help the pineal gland open. I would be shocked if a big pharma product is readily available that will induce enlightenment. It makes no sense. That's as stupid sounding as, well, every planet we can physically observe with our eyeballs is round, but the world we sit on is flat. That makes no effing sense. The universe is a self-replicating fractal that repeats its patterns of organization consistently. So why the fuck would this particular place be a flat disk when everything else we can observe is globular? Just throw all rational thinking out the window and accept it on blind faith, yo, is usually the comeback. So why on earth would we, for the last 60 years, as a spiritual movement, been arguing for a healthier, more organic diet and a cleansing from all big pharmaceutical products, to suddenly veer violently towards some sort of altruistic big pharma pill that's going to open our third eye? That makes no motherfucking sense. Meditation, eating healthy, working spiritual practices, that's what's going to get us closer and closer towards that phenomena that we all hope is one of the many steps along the path towards what we call spiritual enlightenment. A pill ain't gonna do it. And a person like Trump ain't gonna be some glorious deliverer of salvation and enlightenment. No one. We can set aside the big pharma issue, right? But honestly, that just boggles my mind on so many levels. The Trump base is simultaneously anti-corruption, anti-big government, but is applauding the corruption and the big government overreach of Trump's behavior. They are simultaneously opposed to mega corporations while applauding Trump for surrounding himself with the CEO of mega corporations. And suddenly, these supposedly spiritual people are crawling out of the woodwork that applaud Trump for being precisely everything that we are supposed to heal about the human species. Let me close with this, friends. There is only one person that can open your pineal gland, and that person is you. There is only one source for your enlightenment, and that source is you. No one, Trump or some fabulous guru from India or some celebrity, doesn't matter. No one can do the work for you, because enlightenment is not something that can be granted. Enlightenment is not something that we can take a pill and achieve. Enlightenment is not a goalpost that we can kick the ball through, or a finish line that we can cross. There's a lot of people talking about awakening. I woke up, etc., etc. My spiritual awakening happening. We need to be very careful with our language. Awakening is an infinite, never-ending process. This place that we call reality, that we are born into, this place is the living holographic fractal dream entity. This place is the dream from which we are going to awaken from. So if you're still here and you're sitting in your material meat bag, flesh and bone body and interacting with others in this realm of Maya, you ain't awake, folks. And that isn't to judge you or dismiss you, but rather to remind you that the moment you start patting yourself on the back and spitting in other people's faces, you're doing it wrong. I'm not patting myself on the back. I ain't achieved shit. I know I'm not awake. I know that you're not awake. I know also that together we are awakening. Is Trump setting aside ideological constructs and meditating 3 times a day? I see zero evidence for that, my friend. So how the bloody hell can anyone call themselves a spiritual person or a mystical person and then applaud and support his shenanigans? Sounds like an engineered infiltration of PSYOP content to me. And I'm going to have to come back to that because I got a lot to say about the warnings, or rather the red flags I see in the spiritual community. Just like the red flags I see in the conspiracy theory community. And they are the same red flags I see in all organized religions and in all political party systems. But I'll leave it there, friends. Now, I don't know. I'm not sure if hydroxychloroquine is going to somehow be a little bit helpful or maybe turn out to be, wacky toxic and really bad for you. I don't know which will turn out to be the most prevalent variable. But right now, there is zero reason to believe that it is preventative and that it is going to induce third eye opening enlightenment. Zero. Especially on the latter. Because you know what? The only thing that will trigger third eye opening, pineal gland activating, transformative enlightenment is you sitting down and doing the wordless spiritual practice and work required for you to heal yourself and liberate yourself from the mental indoctrination that we all grew up in. Ain't none of us escaped conditioning. And the path to enlightenment is precisely about self-observation, self-reflection, and deep and difficult work at healing trauma that is caused by that conditioning that we all endured growing up. A pill ain't gonna do it. I'll be a monkey's uncle. To drag that phrase up from nostalgia. I'll be a monkey's uncle before Donald Trump delivers third eye enlightenment through a big pharma product. That's a load of horseshit. Sorry. And the proof is in the pudding. Did Buddha take hydroxychloroquine? Did Yeshua take hydroxychloroquine? Did Krishna take hydroxychloroquine? Did any of the enlightened masters who worked multiple lifetimes to achieve their self-liberation from the indoctrination that we've all suffered take hydroxychloroquine? Categorically, hands down, no. Did any of them predict hydroxychloroquine and promise that in the future we will achieve the big pharma breakthrough of being able to enlighten ourselves through hydroxychloroquine? Absolutely fuck no. And now I just saw this breaking in the last 48 hours, so it's gonna spread. And it's going to try to infiltrate people who are relatively new to the spiritual journey and seduce them with convenience. Let me tell you, friends, that's one of the biggest red flags. Convenience, while sometimes kind of comfortable, is ultimately, in the long term, fucking toxic. Just look around at our world today. For the sake of convenience, we have tolerated the toxicity that is caused by everything we've created. Because of convenience, we tolerate air pollution and the 7 million lives it costs every year. Because of convenience, we tolerate the disenfranchisement of people. Because of convenience, we tolerate debt slavery. Because of convenience, we tolerate corporations profiteering on us. Convenience will never be the source of spiritual liberation. The only one that can liberate you is you. So get to it. Don't sit around waiting for a magic pill to be produced by some big pharma megacorp. Sit down, shut up, abdicate political ideology, abdicate everything you've been taught. That doesn't mean burn it to the ground. Abdication is a healing process. Abdication means you forgive that which you've been programmed with and let it go. Abdication is the effort made deep within to see yourself with clarity behind your ego mind, behind your life experiences, behind everything you've been taught. And that shit takes effort. Do not be seduced by convenience. Get to it and put that effort into practice. Yes, there is something spiritual happening. But I assure you that that something spiritual is happening deep inside yourself and has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with spiritual leaders who are profiteering on you, has nothing to do with anybody who is seeking out power, control, and money.
And that is the latest madness from behind the orange wall. Thank you for listening to GMT, a special segment of the Almost Daily ZenCast. Stay woke, Trumptopia. Stay woke.